Hi everyone. Today I'm doing a lino print and I wanted to take you through my process, show you how I do it. There's lots of different ways to do it, and show you what materials I'm using to make it in case you might be inspired to make your own. Just if you don't know what a lino print is, kind of comes from wood block printing. So you're carving out of a material. In this case I have these really soft lino blocks. You're putting ink on the lino block and then you're pressing the lino block down on a piece of paper, or you're pressing paper over the lino block to make an image. I wanted to work with an image of a bird. So over the last few weeks I've been taking photos of birds. I really like the black and white birds called wagtails. So I've been taking photos of them and taking photos of like flowers and kind of, any foliage that I think is nice. And so my first step for this project was to get a bit of tracing paper. You can use greaseproof paper if you want. I have a tracing paper pad. The best way, or the simplest way that I like to do it, is just to stick your tracing paper onto your computer. So I just have a little bit of sticky tape here, and then put your photo underneath the tracing paper and then draw over it. It's really simple, it's kind of effective, and you don't have to use the tracing paper. The reason I like to use the tracing paper is because whatever you carve out on your lino block is going to come out backwards on your final paper. But if you draw it on the tracing paper first, you know that the image is going to come out the way it is on the tracing paper, because when I put the image on the lino block, it's going to go backwards. So then when I print it, it's going to be the right way around. So the best way to do it is to do it yourself and see it. It's important to note that though, because if you have any writing or numbers, just be aware that they'll come out as mirror images. So just watch that. So this is my final image that I did. I'll put in a couple of photos of where I got my inspiration and how I kind of made this image. It's like an amalgamation of a couple of photos that I used, and also a bit of artistic license by just putting in these little fronds and love hearts in the corner. You don't know how it's going to turn out. Sometimes when you have like really curved things like that, it can be more difficult to carve, and I haven't done this in a while, so we'll see how it goes. So my next step then is to take my lino block and put my image on it. The reason that I made the tracing paper this size is because it fits exactly onto this lino block, and the other reason is because I have a set of cards that I bought ages ago and I really want to use up, and I think they'd be really nice printed on. The other thing is, because they're all different colours, I can experiment with my own colours and see what combinations work best. So that's where I'm at. The step that I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this on top of the lino backwards so that the pencil is going to come out on the lino block. Then I'm going to trace over this image again so that it comes out on the lino block. Now there's a few ways to do it. You can just either get your pencil and scrub out on the whole sheet, which is what I do, it's a bit quicker, or you can trace over each piece individually. That takes a bit longer, but whatever your preference is. When I have that done, I'm going to trace over it using these black markers. The reason I'm using permanent markers is because if you have something like a whiteboard marker, when you start carving it out with your carving tool, you're going to get like all smudges on your hand, and that's going to make it difficult for your image is going to get lost basically. So you want your image to stay as stable as possible. The other point to note is you need to have really defined lines and areas of black and white, especially on your final lino print. So this is really step one, but when it comes to drawing it on my final lino print, I'm probably going to like fill in more areas of black and white. And the idea then that everything, and now I say black and white, but obviously this is green. The idea then is that everything that's black you leave on, and then everything that isn't coloured in you carve out. Again, it will become self-explanatory as I do it. I think for now I'm just going to go ahead and do this. I'll angle my camera down so you can have a look, and yeah, let's get going. So this is my finished piece. As I was drawing on it, I just realised I had to add in more black, because if you're going to be cutting out all the green, it's going to take ages, and you want less to cut out than to print, if that makes sense. So everything here that's black is going to come out whatever colour ink that I put on it. And then whatever colour is, or like anything that's green, I'm going to carve out. So I have to carve out all these little details. And it's really difficult when you start carving. You really appreciate every little piece that you don't have to carve out. So I'm looking forward to getting stuck in. I'm going to start carving now. Might end up doing it over a few days because it might take a long time. It might not look as kind of perfect as it is now, because it's obviously going to be different textures and everything as I carve it out. So with carving knives, you get like a lot of different kinds of blades. So I might try a couple of different blades and see how they work. And I'll come back to this video when I'm ready to start printing. It's a little while later and I wanted to show you my progress. This is my final carving. Pretty happy with how it came out. There's some things that I forgot, that which is to do with when you're carving, you just have to be really careful not to go too like heavy on the outside, like at the edges, or your lino block will kind of disintegrate, and that will be an issue for the ink. The other thing to remember is it's a good idea to kind of go with the flow, so the strokes, have the strokes going in the same direction as the object itself. I had to cut off a little bit of the tail here at the end because I didn't have enough room. And what I tried to do is like create texture that was slightly different texture, like on the edge of the block, as opposed to the bird. Now there was one area as well where I think I carved a little bit too much away here, and that could be a problem because I won't have enough differentiation between the bird and the background. So could be a case that I test one and I might end up carving more away Can't really do much once it's carved away. That's kind of it. But yeah, I did lose a little bit of detail. The circles that I had drawn in for the fronds and stuff just weren't really. They were going to be really too difficult to carve. But I'm happy with how the leaf came out and the bird, and this part didn't turn out too bad either. So now it's the moment of truth. I'm going to start printing. You can see I have my apron on and have my board already. Yeah, I really like the colour on this. Um, I think next time I'm going to do a couple of prints. Next time when I print, I'm probably going to just move it up the page slightly. I like how the bird came out, and I think it's quite clear. I'll try a few different ones, and I think I will actually try a couple of different colours. But for now, that's how you make a lino print.